Hey guys, as promised, we're going to be talking about the new Wet n Wild Color Icon Core Collection palettes. So they've redone their eyeshadow palettes and these are the new ones. There are 4 10-pan palettes and there are 6 5-pan palettes. So the packaging is different, the formula is different, the color stories are different. There are 3 carryovers from the previous line. They kept the Nude Awakening palette of the larger ones, and then for the smaller ones they kept Walking on Eggshells and Petalette because those were popular palettes and they chose to keep them because, you know, they're good sellers. So yeah, they've changed pretty much everything about these. I'm gonna tell you what Wet n Wild has to say about this. The 10-pan palettes retail for $5.99, and here's what it says. Our tried and true and now new Color Icon 10-pan palette features an improved, richly pigmented, and buttery smooth vegan formula in matte, satin, shimmer, and metallic finishes. From essential transitions to high-impact effects and everything in between, we curated our color palettes to feature everyday and ultra-glam shades in cool, warm, and neutral tones, offering endless looks and versatility at an unbeatable value. The formula delivers long-lasting wear, soft glide application, and seamless blending. And did we mention these are completely vegan and cruelty-free? Rediscover the original Color Icon with these colorful, blendable, and beautiful palettes. Each one is a true 10. Okay, so let's take a look at these. So this is the new packaging. So it's got a white base to it, and you've got 10 shades, and the layout is quite different than the previous one. I like this packaging. It's sleek, it's modern, I like it a lot. And I like that it's white, even though it is going to pick up dirt and, you know, will have to be wiped down occasionally. I just think it's aesthetically very pleasing. So here's what we've got here. Now this is one of the crossover. This is Nude Awakening. They had this in their previous line and they brought it back, or they kept it, I should say, with the new formula in the new packaging. This is what I have on today. I think they did the right thing by keeping this because I think if you like neutrals, I think this is a beautiful palette. I think you can do a lot with it, and I am more than happy with the look that I did with this. I think it came out really nice. Seeing as how I am wearing this, I think what I'm going to do is swatch it because I think that would be extremely helpful. If you already own the previous Nude Awakening palette, you can see when I do the swatches how they look compared to the one from the previous line. I would do them side by side, except I don't have that palette anymore. I do declutter things after they reach a certain age. Okay, so yeah, I can't swatch all the palettes because that would be impossible. There's just too many of them. All right, so those are the swatches. So, what I can tell you about this, I used this palette today, and I used one of the other palettes, Call Me Sunshine, yesterday. These eyeshadows are not that pigmented, but I think you can still do beautiful looks with them regardless. Pigmentation is not everything. Pigmentation can be quite difficult for people who are just starting off in makeup and aren't used to blending, and these shadows apply and blend over each other fine. And that's the key to me, because if they didn't blend over each other well, or if they got muddy, or if they did anything like that, then I would not recommend them. However, pigmentation is not a deal breaker for me. Maybe it is for you, but it isn't for me, because I really like the way this look turned out. I kind of feel like when eyeshadows aren't that pigmented, it sort of makes them easier to work with, which is why I say these are better for beginners, or helpful for beginners, because if you can build it slowly, you can't really make any mistakes. It's sort of goof proof. And whereas if you go in with something that's like a pure pigment palette, they're not that easy to work with, and they're quite difficult, and if you mess up, sometimes you just can't blend it out because it's so pigmented. So sometimes this is better, easier. So let me just break down the look that I did today and tell you what I used to do this look. This shade right here is my brow bone highlight, and I used this shade in the crease. I used this shade on my lids. And then along the lower lash line, I started off by using this shade under my lower lash line. And then I went in with this shimmery brown shade here. And I deepened up the outer portion of the eye look, and then I took it underneath because I wanted it to be a little more intense than the shade that I started off with. So I used half the shades in the palette, and I love the look that I did. My favorite out of those shadows was definitely this shimmery brown. Let me swatch that one again so you can see. I don't know, there's something about this that I really, really enjoyed. It's a cool, like silvery brown that is really pretty, and I think you could do a lot of different things just with this shadow. But I really like that one in particular. So then in yesterday's video, I had on, at the end of the video, I had on this Call Me Sunshine palette. So I'm not somebody who normally gravitates towards golds. But I don't know, there was something about this that I was kind of curious about. So in yesterday's video, I used, let's see, I used this in the crease, this as my highlight, this was my lid shade, and then I think I put this on the lower lash line. I know it was just yesterday and I've already forgotten. That may not be correct. I think that's what I did though. Pretty sure. The only one that I'm not sure about is the lower lash line color, which isn't really all that important, but yeah, I mainly used these three here. Okay, now, before I move on and show you the rest of the palettes, I'm so afraid that I'm going to forget to tell you this, so I'm just going to tell you right now. If you are somebody who likes to wet their shimmers, I tried doing it a couple different ways, and one way I felt like was way more successful than the other. So if you're somebody that likes to do that, I don't always do that. Sometimes I do it, sometimes I don't. It just depends on what I feel like doing at the moment. There's no rhyme or reason to it, but if you wet shimmer eyeshadows, they will sometimes be more shimmery and more noticeable, so that's the purpose of it. But when I worked with this palette yesterday, what I did was I put my brush in the shadow, picked some up, and then sprayed the brush, and then applied it. And I don't feel like that did the eyeshadows any favors. I feel like the way it went on, it did something weird to the eyeshadow, so I wouldn't recommend that. Now, today I said, okay, I'm gonna do it again, except I'm gonna do it a different way and see what the results are. The results were completely different. What I did this time was I basically just did my eyeshadow look and then did a light spray over it, and that made all the difference. And the spray that I used was the Glow Recipe Watermelon Glow Ultra Fine Mist. This is from Sephora. The reason why I like using this to wet my shimmery eyeshadows is because it is an ultra fine mist. I wouldn't recommend using anything with an aggressive sprayer if you are somebody that likes to do that, because sometimes less is more, and if you put too much moisture on your brush or on an eyeshadow or on the finished look, it can ruin it, frankly. So yeah, a little dab will do ya. Okay, so back to the palettes themselves. Okay, so the next one that I want to show you is called Heart and Soul. And this is a very peachy and coppery and a pink. So kind of an interesting color story there. And there's a beige and a gold there too. And this one is called Lights Out, and this is the last of the 10 pan palettes. So you've got your grays and a black, and you've got a very deep teal, a beige, and I would consider that a beige too, and that one, and a brown. So you've got a lot of neutrals basically, but a wide range of neutrals. And now let's move on to the 5 pan palettes. Okay, so they kept walking on eggshells, of course. That's like probably their #1 selling palette. I'm just thinking to myself, do I prefer the 10 pan palettes or the 5 pan palettes? I'm going to say that if you're just going to pick up one to try, I would go with one of the 10 pan palettes, only because you have more choices. Because, like, for example, the palette that I used today, the Nude Awakening, there's 10 shades in the palette. I used 5 of the 10. Now, if I was using one of these 5 pans, the color story would be completely ruled out? No, laid out for me, and those are the colors that I would use. But with the 10 pan, you can pick and choose. Let me show you what I'm talking about and why I think this matters. Okay, here's Nude Awakening. The ones that I used were this one, this one, this one, this one, this one. Now, if those were in a 5 pan, those might not be the 5 that they chose, but those were the ones that made the most sense to me with the kind of look that I wanted to do. So you have choices here. Whereas with the 5 pans, your choices are extremely limited, and you pretty much have to do the look that they decided upon. So if you want to get more creative, if you're somebody that's more experienced with makeup, go with the 10 pans. But if you're somebody that's new to makeup, or you don't feel like your skills are that advanced, then go with the 5 pan. The work is done for you, and you can kind of figure out just by looking at it what you're supposed to do with it. Because, like, all right, crease, highlight, lid, wait a minute. Crease, highlight, lid, outer corner crease, and lower lash line, and then use this to deepen it up in any which way that you want to. But anyway, so that's Walking on Eggshells. I think most of you are familiar with that palette already. And then the other one that they decided to keep was Petalette, which I'm sure that most of you remember this. Okay, so these are all the new ones now. Go Commando. Gold's rusts and a brown. That one should be interesting. Sundays. This is sort of like the Sun palette one that I used yesterday, but not really. Let's compare them. Yeah, no, not really, because this has got like more orangey tones in it. So no, not the same. I thought maybe one would be a condensed version of the other. Camo Flaunt. That looks like pressed glitter. It is. I don't like it when they put pressed glitter in palettes. So just be aware of that. And this is the one, color story wise, that I think I'm drawn to the most. It's called My Lucky Charm. Just because of that green in the middle. Okay, now, ooh, those are very shimmery. I gotta find out here. Are any of these pressed glitters? No. No, they are not. So those are the 4 shimmer shades. That's a terrible swatch. Wow, those are really shimmery. Yeah, you would think those were pressed glitters, but they're not. Okay, so those are the new palettes. So what do I think? The bottom line is, I would say buy one and play with it, see what you think, because everybody has different opinions about things. I watched a video yesterday where somebody put these in their worst makeup of the year video, and I was like, what? I've used eyeshadows that were a million times worse than these, and I'm not saying that these are bad. I'm saying that maybe that person needed to try something. Here's what I'm thinking. What you use for an eyeshadow primer has a lot to do with how your eyeshadows perform. What you use for brushes and how you use them has a lot to do. I'm not saying that that person doesn't know what she's doing. All I'm saying is that I would love to know what she uses for an eyeshadow primer. And I might even look into that just out of curiosity if she lists the products she's wearing in the description box, because wow, that can really make a difference. I've had situations where I've bought some eyeshadow palettes and was really unhappy with the results, and then I used a different primer, got completely different results. So 9 times out of 10, I use my MAC Painterly paint pot. Everything goes on beautiful over that. Very, very rarely have I found anything. That's when you know something is really poor, is when it doesn't go on good over that. But I have, for a drugstore primer, I really like the Profusion one. Everything goes on nice over that too. And e.l.f.'s original primer, the sheer one, that comes in the little beige tube with the black top. That one is also very good. But anyway, yeah, my bottom line is I like these palettes. I can't wait to play with them more. They're not the most pigmented palettes in the world, but they do blend well and they play well together. So you can layer the shadows over each other and get good results. But you know, depending on who you ask, you're going to get a different answer. But I like them and I can't wait to play with them more. Now I'm repeating myself, so it's time to go. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you're not already, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye guys, thanks for watching.